It was a Tuesday afternoon, a regular performance review. My manager looked up to me and said, "You need to speak up more in meetings." I paused and I asked him why. Not because I wanted to challenge him, but because I genuinely wanted to know why was presence being measured by volume. I wasn't quiet because I didn't care. I was processing deeply, acknowledging the scenarios around me. But in that moment, I felt what every immigrant, introvert, and women in tech have felt, that who I was wasn't enough. Not loud enough, not fast enough, not visible enough. I grew up in a family of progressive writers back in Bangalore in India. Our home was full of books, dialogue, conversations, and curiosity. Not just what to think, but how to think. My sister and I learned early on that being quiet didn't mean being passive. Quiet could be very powerful when paired with depth, clarity, and intent. I then went on to do my computer science undergrad with friends across India. Without even having to leave the country, I was able to understand perspectives and cultures from across the globe. Then came the digital life. From early social media platforms to chatting with friends across the globe, I was building digital fluency. I didn't know it then, but I was practicing how to express my feelings in words. I was learning to lead from behind the keyboard. I then came to the United States to do my master's in Carnegie Mellon, and that's where my quiet foundation was tested. I remember when I landed in Pittsburgh, I was frantically trying to find a payphone to call my parents and tell them, "I don't belong here. This is tough. I can't do this." I was also in the meantime looking at the keypad and converting dollars into rupees, trying to figure out how much money I was actually spending on this call. And then my dad said, "You can do this. You just don't know how yet. You're going to figure this out, not for yourself, but also for the others who are going to follow you. I believe in you." That's the confidence he had in me. That moment, so raw and human, marked the beginning of a bigger shift in my life. Initially, when I came here, I often felt quite small. I didn't know the rules, I didn't know how I should perform, but then I started to contribute clearly and carefully. I knew at that point that I didn't have to be the way I was, and what I thought was hesitation was actually discernment. What others called too quiet was actually my kind of superpower. My foundation didn't hold me back. It just showed to me the kind of leader I was meant to be. You don't have to be somebody else to be the kind of leader you are. I'm an introvert, I'm an immigrant, and I'm a woman in tech. All these three roles have taught me to listen before I lead, to observe before I act, to find influence in nuance and not in noise. Technology has not changed the way leadership is, but it has given a platform and changed the rules of the game. With global teams, async channels, and remote calls, leadership stopped being about who speaks first and started being about who makes most sense. That is what I call quiet power leadership, a way of leading that's calm, considered, and deeply intentional. Today, leadership does not look like the tallest person in the room, or the loudest, or the boldest, or the one with the firmest handshake. Because in that quiet, a new kind of strength rises. I'm 5'2", but my presence isn't small. Because presence isn't measured by size or volume. It's measured by the space you are creating for others to think, to speak, and to thrive. And sometimes that means speaking up, and sometimes that means listening longer. You don't have to overpower somebody to feel confident. You just have to be grounded in your voice. Here is something I wish I had learned earlier. You can prepare for how you want to show up. Right now, I may seem bold and confident. This is not accident. I prepared for this. I decided how I wanted to show up today. Calm, clear, and credible. And I practiced that version of myself until it felt real. This didn't start on stage. It actually began with networking. I hated networking. For the longest period of time, I thought I wasn't good at it. I didn't follow baseball, I didn't follow basketball. I had nothing to talk about, so I was like, how can I make small talk? I did follow cricket, but only when India was winning, and not a lot of people knew about cricket here. So I thought at that time, I'm never going to be good at this. But then I realized all I needed was a different playbook. So here's what I do now. I block my time before and after an event. I commit myself to 2 hours, and in those 2 hours, I turn on my social mode. It's kind of like a muscle that I have trained. And in those 2 hours, I focus on making just one or two meaningful connections that I can learn from and I can follow up on later. That's success to me. And here's a tip. If you don't know what you want to talk about pets. People love talking about their dogs. If you don't have to feel confident to show up powerfully. You can engineer your presence, design it, practice it, and recover later. Because confidence isn't a mood, it's a decision that you train for. Personality, presence isn't a personality, it's a strategy. Quiet power leadership is rooted in three things. One is presence with purpose. Two, being calm under pressure. And three, making others feel seen. Not long ago, I was in a meeting with loud voices and animations. I didn't speak a lot, but I read the bigger picture. And then I mentioned the one thing that nobody else was saying. The energy shifted. The room moved with focus and not with noise. That was not an accident. That was preparation. That was quiet power leadership. And I think a little bit of that came with my culture as well. When I was growing up, my parents used to tell me, don't speak unless you're spoken to. And I think that helped me be a very thoughtful observer. But I had to unlearn a few things too, because when I came here, nobody stopped and said and asked me, Sneha, what is your opinion? So I had to unlearn that because I had to open up and speak up. So today, when I speak, I don't speak to fill in the silence. I speak when it matters, and I know that what I'm going to say is going to add value to the table. That is my strength. When I came to the US, I didn't know the rules, and I often felt so very lost. So I tried to learn from people I thought were doing a very good job. I paused and I hesitated, not out of fear, but to recognize the patterns that were being said. That pause, it has become my strength. In Indian culture, silence isn't considered a weakness. It is actually controlled strength. Patience isn't passivity. So here's what I do now. Whenever a big decision is thrown at me, I ask myself, what is needed here? Is it speed or is it clarity? And just asking myself that one question makes me a grounded leader, because you don't have to lead fast to actually make the right decision. You just need to lead in a calm way to make sure that you're headed in the right way. Technology didn't change the way that I operated, but it gave me the platform to lead in the way that I wanted to. From early online communities to WhatsApp calls that I make to my parents while having festivals, to leading teams across the globe, technology has been my lens as well as my survivor. I always used to feel the pressure to be on, but now I know I don't have to perform to be seen. I just need to be present in a way that feels authentic to me. So, if writing or reflection is your strength, lead with it. Because leadership doesn't mean you have to match somebody else's energy. It just means you need to match your intention. The way you go about it, it's not your style, it's not a flaw, it's just a different way to cultivate leadership. And also, most important thing, don't underestimate the quiet. I was in a meeting a few years ago. It was a pretty long meeting. A lot of leaders were in the room. It was an hour meeting, and I didn't speak for 59 minutes. I spoke for 1 minute after drawing the insights and figuring out what I should speak. Later, somebody came and told me, "You don't speak much, but when you do, it matters." And that's when I realized I don't have to lead louder, I just need to lead deeper. Because you don't have to follow somebody else's signs to be a powerful leader. You just need to figure out how you want to show up and nurture that version of yourself with care. Because in this noisy world, we don't need more volume, we need more depth. And in that quiet, that's where the future is being built. It's not soft, it's not timid, it's quiet power leadership. Thank you.